The Well of Loneliness by Radclyffe. Read by JayRaams. Chapter 18. On a beautiful evening 3 weeks later, Stephen took Angela over Malton. They had tea with Anna and Puddle, and Anna had been coldly polite to this friend of her daughter's, but Puddle's manner had been rather resentful. She deeply mistrusted Angela Cosby, but now Stephen was free to show Angela Malton, and this she did gravely, as though something scared were involved in this first introduction to her home, as though Malton itself must feel the coming of this small, fair-haired woman was in some way momentous. Very gravely, then, they went over the house, even into Sir Philip's old study. From the house they made their way into the stables, and still grave, Stephen told her friend about Rafferty. Angela listened, assuming an interest she was very far from feeling. She was timid of horses, but she liked to hear the girl's rather gruff voice. Such an earnest young voice, it intrigued her. She was thoroughly frightened when Rafferty sniffed her and then blew through his nostrils, as though disapproving, and she started back with a sharp exclamation, so that Stephen slapped him on his glossy grey shoulder. "Stop it, Rafferty, come on." And Rafferty, disgusted, went on blowing on his oats to express his hurt feelings. They left him and wandered away through the gardens, and quite soon after poor Rafferty was almost forgotten, for the garden smelt softly of night-scented stocks, and of other pale flowers that smelt sweetest at evening, and Stephen was thinking that Angela Crosby resembled such flowers. Very fragrant and pale she was, so that Stephen said to her gently, "You seem to belong to Malton." Angela smiled a slow, questioning smile. "You think so, Stephen?" And Stephen answered, "I do, because Malton and I are one." And she scarcely understood the portent of her words, but Angela, understanding, spoke quickly. "Oh, I belong nowhere. You forget I'm a stranger." "I know that you are you," said Stephen. They walked on in silence while the light changed and deepened, growing always more golden and yet more elusive, and the birds who loved that strange light sang singly and then all together, "We're happy, Stephen." And turning to Angela, Stephen answered the birds, "You being here makes me so happy." "If that's true, then why are you so shy of my name?" "Angela," mumbled Stephen. Then Angela said, "It's just over 3 weeks since we met. How quickly our friendships happened. I suppose it was meant. I believe in kismet. You were awfully scared that first day at the Grange. Why were you so scared?" Stephen answered slowly, "I'm frightened now. I'm frightened of you." "Yet you're stronger than I am." "Yes, that's why I'm frightened. You make me feel strong. Do you want to do that?" "Well, perhaps. You're so unusual, Stephen." "I am?" "Of course. Don't you know that you are? Why, you're altogether different from other people." Stephen trembled a little. "Do you mind?" she faltered. "I know that you are," teased Angela, smiling again, but she reached out and took Stephen's hand. Something in the queer, virtual strength of that hand stirred her deeply, so that she tightened her fingers. "What in Lord's name are you?" she murmured. "I don't know." "Go on holding like that to my hand. Hold it tighter. I like the feeling of your fingers." "Stephen, don't be absurd. Go on holding my hand. I like the feeling of your fingers." "Stephen, you're hurting and crushing my fingers." And now they were under the trees by the lake, their feet falling softly on the luminous carpet. Hand in hand they entered that place of deep stillness, and only their breath disturbed the stillness for a moment. Then it folded back over their breathing. "Look," said Stephen, and she pointed to the swan called Peter, who had come drifting past on his own white reflection. "Look," she said, "this is Malton, all beauty and peace. It drifts like that swan does, on calm, deep water, and all this beauty and peace is for you, because now you're a part of Molten. And Angela said, I've never known peace. It's not for me. I don't think I'd find it here, Stephen. And as she spoke, she released her hand, moving a little away from the girl. But Stephen continued to talk on gently, her voice sounding almost like that of a dreamer. Lovely, oh lovely it is, our Molten. On evenings in the winter, these lakes are quite frozen, and the ice looks like slabs of gold in the sunset. Then you and I come and stand here in the winter, and as we walk back, we smell the log fire long before we see them, and we love that good smell, because it means home, and our home is Molten, and we're happy, happy, we're utterly content and at peace, we're filled with the peace of this place. Stephen, don't. We are both filled in the peace of Molten. We're both filled with the peace of Molten because we love each other so deeply, and because we're perfect, a perfect thing, you and I, not two separate people, but one. And our love has lit a great comforting beacon so that we need never be afraid of the dark anymore. We can warm ourselves at our love. We can lie down together, and my arms will be around you. She broke off abruptly, and they stared at each other. Do you know what you're saying? Angela whispered. And Stephen answered, I know that I love you, and that nothing else matters in the world. Then perhaps because of the glamorous evening, with its spirit of queer, unearthly adventure, with its urge to strange, unendurable sweetness, Angela moved a step nearer to Stephen, then another, until their hands were touching, and all that she was, and all that she had been, and would be again, perhaps even more tomorrow, was fused at that moment into one mighty impulse, one imperative need, and that need was Stephen. Stephen's need was now hers, by its sheer force of its blind and uncomprehending will to appeasement. Then Stephen took Angela in her arms, and she kissed her full on the lips as a lover.